Welcome to another episode of Roaring Reactions with your hosts Justin Lacey and Tim Lyons. Welcome, but unfortunately, we're not here for some good news. We're another loss against the Packers, which we predicted was going to happen. It's not like it was something that Joe Flacco was going to go out there and throw for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns and lead us to a victory. It was kind of a night and day game for me. The offense was kind of slow and stale that first half, and then the second half, the offense actually played good ball, and the defense decided not to play complimentary football. So, it just kind of like night and day. We had some good play. We had an interception by Geno Stone, and he had a sack. That was the only good thing that we had going on the defense side. But, like I said, they held them to 10 points in the first half, but then that second half, the defense decided, not to show up. And I don't know if that had to do with Hendrickson, being sidelined or not. I don't know, but we really need that defensive front line really didn't show up. Josh Jacobs was running the ball all over us. Jordan Love was doing whatever he wanted to do back there. Justin, I know that you feel the same way I do, and our expectations are low, as both of us have right now. How are you feeling after this loss versus the Packers 27-18 in Lambeau Field with Joe Flacco starting as a quarterback?
They lost to the better team. The Green Bay Packers are one of the premier NFC teams, elite teams in the NFC, and the Bengals are just not up there to that level without Joe Burrow. Okay.
Right.
But I'm actually weirdly encouraged by what I saw this past Sunday. And that was because I used this game as simply as an evaluation for Joe Flacco, and this to see, can he make this offense functionable? For the previous 3 weeks, this offense has just absolutely looked downright bad. And how many times have we mentioned Jake Browning, not only just on this show, but everybody all around, whether if it's on Bengals Twitter, whether if it's the national media, local media, other podcast shows. The name Jake Browning got so exhausting real fast. And it was nice to finally not talk about Jake Browning today. So with that being said, I was really surprisingly encouraged by what I saw from Joe Flacco. I didn't think that Joe Flacco was going to go out there and then just throw it all over the yard. The dude got into town on a Tuesday evening, drove from Cleveland to Cincinnati after being traded. Only had really one real true practice with the Cincinnati Bengals, receiving core of the team before going through walkthrough, which Jamara missed the walkthrough because he was sick, before going out there on game day. So when you see fans that were just clobbering Zach Taylor regarding the play calling, well, we got our critics of Zach Taylor, sure. But this was not about Zach Taylor's pathetic play calling, which we all know is pretty bad. It's pretty lackluster over the years.
Yep.
This was more so about Joe Flacco just getting here and just trying to get into a groove. And guess what? He did that in the second half. But as what you already mentioned, this team just can't play complimentary football to save their lives. And no matter how much progress people keep on wanting to throw up there to the defense, this team still just reminds you that they are still bad on that side of the ball. I didn't even need to have Trey Hendrickson on the D-line there, even though I know he ended up exiting the game early with the back injury. He didn't have to be on the field for us to just to see that. It just confirms validation that no one still can't rush the passer without him. The coverage is still very lackadaisical, although I really did like DJ Turner's efforts, 5 pass breakup and stuff on Sunday. He was great. But overall, man, I'm just underwhelmed with this defensive unit, and I don't like it. And people keep on trying to tell me that, oh, well, they did their job in the first half. Okay, so we're just expecting them to be good for one half of football, and they weren't even that good, okay? So, like, I'm going to try to calm myself down because it really agitates me that I see so much on Bengals Twitter just really champion the defense. And it's like, dude, just because the defense went from bad to just kind of bad, that don't mean that I'm giving them a passing grade. The offense is absolutely atrocious. But I'm sorry, man. The offense gave the defense plenty of time to rest and relax and recover. I get it, man. It's frustrating when you're always being put in the tough spots when you're on defense. But the offense had chewed up the clock to end the first half. You had halftime, then got the ball coming out of halftime. The offense went on a 17-play drive and took up damn near 10 minutes off the clock. And yet you had plenty of time to rest and recover.
Mm-hmm.
And you go out there and just allow the Green Bay Packers just score all the time, all the way through. They didn't even really punt the ball in the second half. And then when it got to the damn near the end of the game, late in the fourth quarter, when you got the Green Bay Packers backed up on their 3rd and 8, you had a chance. Mm-hmm. All you had to do, this was going to be the moment. This was the critical moment that we talked about, the creep towards average talk. Can you just get a stop when we need it? And the answer to that question has been no. So, no, I feel like that there's still problems with this team. But you know what? I walked away from it understanding that, look, they had no business being in that game to begin with, even though I did predict this somewhat of a competitive effort. I'm glad I got that. But I didn't have them winning this game. I'm glad that they produced. Today, that game was the launch point for Joe Flacco just to get you ready for this upcoming game against the Thursday night game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's the game you got to win. Because if you lose that game, the season's practically over, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I completely agree. I know I've been one of those guys that's been pushing that, the defenses, they're out there tired and everything. I was kind of making excuses for them. But after this Sunday's game, it was like, that 3rd and 9 play, all you had to do was make one stop and the wide receiver's wide open and he catches it for the first down and game's over with. It's been hard. I think our secondary, the whole defense, never mind. I'm just going to say the whole defense. Mostly the secondary, the safeties, the corners, even the linebacker core. Look at Logan Wilson was taken out of the game so Barrett Carter could come in there and get some reps. They wanted to see if he had some kind of sparks. I didn't watch what Logan Wilson said. I know Logan Wilson did his own little spiel on something. They're back in the locker room asking him questions, but I didn't have a chance to look at that yet. I do see Austin. I wanted to answer your question. Shamar Stewart has been full practice for the last 2 days, so that's promising. We'll have Shamar Stewart back. Trey Hendrickson did not practice because of a hip injury, is what they're saying. It's a hip injury, not back injury. So, we might not have Trey out there. Justin, you get to that point. Like I was just on a Steelers podcast crossover thing with them yesterday with Jeff. And, he asked me that question of, what do you think of your defense? What do you think of your offensive run game? And I'm like, it's non-existent. It's like, we need complementary football on both sides of the ball, and we're not getting that. We're not seeing that. And I don't know if it's the talent or it's the coaching, if it's a play calling for when it comes to the defense, offensive side of the ball. We saw that spark, and that was that spark I was talking about last week when we were talking about this game, that spark from Joe Flacco and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And he, believe it or not, Chase Brown, he had 47 yards on like 9 rushes for like 4. I think he was averaging like 4.3 yards a carry or something like that. But our run game is just non-existent. And we have the Steelers coming to town on Thursday, and it's going to be some interesting football. But we'll talk about that tomorrow on our Running Through the Jungle show tomorrow. But Justin, real quick, I'm going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll get into our offensive and defensive game balls if we have anything to hand out, and then our final thoughts. Sorry, give me 1 minute. You'll see our beautiful faces for about 10 seconds, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the roaring reactions, or we'll say in this case, the not so roaring reactions. Justin, so we normally, if people that watch our show, we normally give out our offensive and defensive game balls here. That kind of like spotlight somebody on the offense and somebody on the defense. I know we lost, but we're still going to want to, you know what? Yeah, we're still going to want to give an offensive game ball and defensive game ball. Justin, who do you give your offensive game ball to?
Like I said, I think that the offense has really produced a little bit more functional, where that gives me hope moving forward. That Joe Flacco entering the fold, he's doing exactly what we wanted Jake Browning to be. And, that is somebody that can at least get us to a point in the position where we're winning games, win some games, to set the stage for when Joe Burrow returns and we can go on a run, if that were to be the case. I'm not going to give him my game ball, even though I really do appreciate his valiant effort coming in on a short week. It'll be really easy to give that to Joe Flacco. He didn't have any turnovers. He got the 1 sack. For all that's too much to the chagrin that everybody's saying that he was going to get killed behind his offensive line, he did not. He actually was able to escape out of the pocket, because if anybody watched a lot of Joe Flacco football, his age didn't really matter. He still is able to maneuver in the pocket. Honestly, Joe Flacco is the kind of backup quarterback that should have been the backup quarterback for Joe Burrow all these years.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Joe Burrow just kind of had to develop himself because he didn't have that veteran presence. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked here because the question is, who do I give my game ball to on offense? The answer to that is Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is the dog. He is the leader of this team. And he is the one that really righted the ship. If you guys get a chance to listen, please do go to listen to the Growler podcast with Paul Dehner Jr. And Jay Morrison. But he did a walkout episode with the rewatch with Charlie Goldsmith. And one of the interesting comments that I got from Charlie Goldsmith, who is one of the beat writers for the Bengals, is that 75% of the time at quarterback, it was Joe Flacco. But for the other 25% of it was Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase was getting guys to be able to line up in the right spots. There were times where Yoshi didn't even know where he was supposed to line up, and Jamar had a point to where he needed to line up to assist Joe Flacco to be able to help run the offense. Again, that's part of why they started out slow in the first half. Nobody talks about these things because that's not the number that gives. We're just always bitching about the play calls, and that's what I'm not here for right now, okay? Yeah. I could criticize Zach later. But then the second half, you started to finally see that Jamar Chase started to be like, you know what? I got to take over this game. And we all needed to point out and acknowledge. How can we not acknowledge and point out to the head-to-head matchup against Carrington Valentine, who, he thought he was trying to mock Jamar Chase with his gritty on the when they did like the third down stop. And then the very next play on 4th and 5, man, Jamar Chase makes this beautiful, insane catch, body guys draped over his shoulder, his back, and basically holding one of his arms, and yet he still happens to make an incredible catch into the end zone the very next play. And it's like, man, don't you ever disrespect Jamar Chase like that for any of them DBs if you haven't learned your lessons over the last 5 years that he's been in the league. Right. But that was also an incredible play by Joe Flacco too. Great throw to be able to just say, you know what, I'm trusting this guy. And he trusted him, and it paid dividends for him. And the Green Bay Packers had a lot of sticky coverage. There was a lot of great coverage that these DBs had. Keyshawn Nixon, they all had good coverage on the Bengals receivers, but these guys worked hard to make those catches. And when I mean these guys, it's T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. I know I'm going long-winded here, but my answer to the question is Jamar Chase. He is the guy that's getting the offensive game ball for me. I think that honorable mention, I will say Joe Flacco, because I think moving forward, he is going to have this offense function at a solid level that can carry you to a few victories here.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you when it comes to Jamar Chase, but, I don't want to be the same game ball guy today. So I'm going to give it to the old dude, 40-year-old Joe Flacco, just got traded on Monday, has a car ride down to Cincinnati, had very short time to prepare, but finally got it moving in that second half. He had 219 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no turnovers. He only got sacked once, so the offensive line played great. But I think he was making some good reads. He was forcing the ball down the field, but he was doing it smart. That was that play, the play that we were getting from Joe Flacco. And I'm not a big Joe Flacco fan, but guess what? He's our quarterback. So I'm going to root for the guy no matter what. I rooted for David Klingler and all these other guys, Achilles Smith and Boomer Esiason and Ken Anderson and Carson Palmer, and I can name off Jeff. What was his name? Jeff.
Jeff
Oh
Blake.
my, Jeff Blake. I've rooted for all these guys, and Joe Flacco is our quarterback, and he is my offensive game ball. Just for coming in on a short week, for learning the offense. The part of the offense that that he did learn. Just to see him come out there that second half and pushing that ball down the field and doing it smart, not making any turnovers. Getting Jamar Chase a touchdown. Tanner Hudson got a touchdown. But I'm going to tell you this right now is I remember one play, Yoshi was coming across the field, and Joe threw a laser at him, and he couldn't haul it in because you could tell Joe put some heat. He didn't even drop it. It came bouncing right off his hands. He was like, "Oh shoot!" I wasn't expecting.
Jamar T would have caught it.
Exactly. So
Jamar T would have caught that ball. Yoshi just had a horrible game, bro. Like that was 3 to 4 drops. That one being the most critical because I believe that was on third down, and he just dropped it. And that was like a frustrating afternoon for him.
Yeah, it was like 3rd and 4, and all he had to do was catch that ball, and we would have got the first down, but he dropped it. But Joe Flacco is my offensive game ball. Justin, who are you giving your defensive game ball to?
It's DJ Turner. I think that his play on as the cornerback position. Look, I'm not going to be suckered into this particular game and think that, oh man, we found our corner CB1 of the future. I still don't trust his defense. I still don't trust anybody on the personnel in that secondary whatsoever. Still, but I really like what I saw from him. Time and time again, Jordan Love was trying to test this dude, and they were throwing in his direction, and yet he answered the bell every single time. Just the kind of cornerback play that you just want to see on a regular basis, week in and week out. It ain't like you need to get picks and interceptions and stuff. But what I need to be able to see is that you just know how to answer the bell when it's third down and short, and it's 3rd and obvious passing situation, and they're staring down the barrel, and they look that they got single coverage, and you're the corner that's on there. Can you be the guy that can knock the ball away, force an incomplete pass? You know what? Even if you get beat, can you have the catch-up speed and the closing speed to be able to make sure that the guy doesn't catch the ball over you? We already seen major disappointment in Cam Taylor-Britt. DJ Turner is starting to become the guy that you can rely upon, and he was able to be relied upon that when they kept trying to test this dude, nobody was getting catches over this guy. And I was really shocked that he really didn't get any interceptions. I mean, we got the one with Geno Stone, but that was a tip pass. I think was it DJ Turner that tipped it and that landed in Geno Stone's hands. Regardless, he's going to be the guy that is going to get my defensive game ball prediction. It's really hard to give it to or even look at anybody else at this matter because they just didn't answer the bell at all. And yes, we could talk about them being somewhat decent in the first half. I just attribute to that, man. Like, the Packers just started slow. They were just trying to figure out how the Bengals were going to play them a little bit. We see that happen all the time with the Bengals offense. They kind of sort of wait around. Jordan Love, he didn't play bad by any means, but I wasn't really all that overly impressed with him. But at the end of the day, like I said, I'm going to go with DJ Turner, man. I think that he's the guy that I feel the most confident in if I were to, handpick somebody.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with DJ Turner. DJ Turner played, he actually stepped up. He had a great game. It was nice to see somebody else besides nobody stepping up in that secondary at all, because it seems like we just constantly are complaining about the same guys, Cam Taylor-Britt and Geno Stone and, Jordan Battle every once in a while. Jordan Battle really didn't have a very good game. I think the only first, I could give my game ball easily to Geno Stone because he had an interception and a sack, but true defensive game ball is DJ Turner. Definitely. I 100% agree with you. And you know what? I don't know if you want to make it a short show. I don't know if you're ready to get out of here, or you just want to do our final thoughts and get out.
Yeah, it's a short week. We got the game against Pittsburgh coming up. I mean, I do want to mention there's a lot of people that wanted to see Evan McPherson break the kicker record for the longest field goal in the game. Man, it sucked that he didn't get that. That didn't count. You know,
Yeah.
unfortunately, icing the kicker works every so once in a while, man. It's one Green Bay is one of those places. They're also one of those organizations that weird things just happen in their way. They're like the Steelers of the NFC,
Mm-hmm.
NFC North too, at that. And Barrett Carter, no, hold on, going into Austin's our comment. Hell nah, dog. Barrett Carter, he was bad, dog. Like the whole entire linebacking core was awful. But you know what? I will at least give Barrett Carter grace because that was his first start as a rookie. Because Logan Wilson was not good and he didn't see
Right.
much playing time, so he kind of got thrown in the fire a little bit. But the linebacker core, man, they had to learn, you know. And unfortunately, you might as well learn by playing. They were taking bad angles on trying to. Jordan Love was able to just slip out of those bad
Yep.
angle tackles, you know, like
Oh
with
yeah.
pure ease. And they just didn't. They just wasn't ready to prepare for the kind of mobility that Jordan Love showed. But I didn't mean to get sidetracked. But
No,
anyways,
you're
like
fine. You're absolutely right. You know, those linebackers, they need to learn how to tackle is what they need to really do. You know, there were so many times where I was like, just tackle him. And
yeah,
Jordan Love was getting slipping loose. Or even Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs was busting
yeah, he
tackles
was,
and
God,
he was
man, like
he was toasting us. And it
killing
was
us, man. He
awful.
was, bruh,
Yeah.
like it got so frustrated watching this dude carry for damn near almost 5 yards a clip in the second half. It's like
Yep.
I'm just sitting there like, defense, I thought y'all got enough rest. I mean, I
Yeah.
understand that Trey Hendrickson not being on the field can do a little bit of justice for the pass rushing aspect, but come on,
Hmm.
we talking about just tackling a ball carrier here. All right.
Yeah.
You did okay against the running game in the first half, and I say okay lightly because they
Right.
still want Molly watching went up and down the field on you. But
Right.
come on, man, like this stuff is getting annoying at this point. The Denver Broncos didn't have a single 100-yard rusher until they went against us.
Right.
They also went against the Minnesota Vikings, where it wasn't even Aaron Jones that was playing. It was, I believe it was Jordan Mason. The backup had a phenomenal game against this run game against the defense of the Bengals. You know, and the list goes on. And then yet, David Montgomery, Jameer Gibbs, like they just can't, they just too many people are running and gashing against the Bengals. They just
Hmm.
can't stop the run, man. I'm getting frustrated looking at it. It's like
Yeah.
that's where it
It gets old.
starts. That's where it starts.
Yeah, it gets really old to see. You know, we just need that one, like those one stops that we just always have needed throughout the years, just throughout the years, not just on Sunday against the Packers, just that one stop. And the
Yeah.
Bengals just seem to can't do it. You know, like you'll watch these other teams playing, and it's like, oh, you know what? They're getting these one stops. You know, they're stopping them on 3rd and 9, making them punt. But the Bengals, when we need it, and we all knew we were going to lose this game against the Packers. Don't get me wrong, but I would have loved to have seen them not get that first down, us get the ball back, and give Joe a chance to march down the field and give us a chance to tie them. You know, but it just, or actually, it wouldn't have been a tie if we would have scored and kicked the extra point. We would have won by 1 point because we went for the 2
Mhm.
point conversion. But anyways, you know, it's just that one moment, that one chance. But again, like I said, I saw that spark that I wanted to see. I just hope that spark in that offensive side of the ball with Joe Flacco continues throughout the season with Joe Flacco. You know, and this is a big Thursday night game. We're gonna talk about that tomorrow. You know, the the Steelers versus the Bengals in Cincinnati
Mhm.
on Thursday night football. AFC North gridiron slobber knocker, punch everybody in the mouth kind of football. You know, I'm excited to talk about it tomorrow. I'm assuming Brandon will be here tomorrow for the show. Justin's got prior engagements tomorrow, which he's going to an awesome event. You want to talk about that real quick, Justin?
Yeah, I'll bring that up too. So, as you guys know, on Thursday Night Football, hosted by Prime Video, guys like Andrew Whitworth, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Richard Sherman, those are the guys that's going to be calling the game, like broadcasting the game from the booth,
Mm-hmm.
along with guys like Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. I love Amazon Prime Video games. Sometimes the product is not always that great on Thursday Night Football, but the actual aesthetic appeal of Amazon Prime Video when they have football games on there,
Right.
it's amazing. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So I am excited because Ryan Fitzpatrick and Andrew Whitworth, who is also going to be the ruler of the jungle, by the way. is
Oh, nice.
doing a podcast episode at the banks of the Ohio in Cincinnati. So
Mhm.
they're having a live audience crowd, and I can't wait to attend that in person. That's tomorrow. So yes, I'm obviously going to miss out on our normal Running Through the Jungle episode to be able to discuss the matchup against Pittsburgh. But you know what? Yeah, you guys will understand because I'm going to be trying to like capture a little bit of highlight from that too. So, I mean, if you're in the city, if you're watching or listening later, if you're in the city, man, please feel free to make your way out downtown and then enjoy that atmosphere. Obviously the game is on Thursday. There's going to be a lot of great stuff that's going on down in the city all throughout the day leading up to the game that night.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati is a fun tailgate place. I mean, so
Yeah.
right now the season is not as great, but you know what? You got two 40-year-old quarterbacks getting ready to duke it out, probably for the final time, or no, not final time here. This is
Yeah.
probably Aaron Rodgers' final time here in Cincinnati. So you guys got to be able to catch it while you can. So, but like I said, I'm excited to make that happen, make that move to be able to check that out. But bottom line is, I'm just, as much as the season has not gone well for us this year, it's still football, man, and I'm still excited. The Bengals, they have an opportunity. This is really it for them right here, this game.
Mhm. Yeah.
If they win this game, and I know more is going to be discussed, but obviously I'm not going to be here on the show tomorrow to give my breakdown. But if they win this game against Pittsburgh, then they're
Mhm.
like, okay, it's game on. We're back in it. It
Yeah.
knocks the Steelers also back a peg because now they're going to have a little bit of a tough stretch coming up here too. It's been all sunshine and daisies for Pittsburgh up to this point, like it's always been for the last few years. But
Yeah.
you knock them down a peg, then obviously they come back down to the means a bit. You become 3-4, and you got the Jets, the Bears, and coming up on a docket, and then you got a chance to go on a nice little winning streak before the bye.
Mhm.
If you can set yourself up by winning this game Thursday. But if you lose this game Thursday, you might as well just call it. You might as well just call it a season at this point. I don't want to say that the season's over, but it already felt like it was over when Joe went down. But like,
Yeah.
if you don't win this game against the Steelers, man, I don't know, man. I don't want to do an early predicting, but like early
Well,
prognostication that it's done. But I don't see
yeah.
I don't see them being able to rebound. This is too steep of a hole. It's like we talk about every year for the last 2 years. Like
Mhm.
you buried yourself too deep in the hole to be able to climb out of. And I think at this point, with no Joe Burrow this time, yeah, man, I don't know. So
So that being said, Justin, so everybody, you definitely come watch Justin and I on Friday nights at 6:30 Eastern time, 3:30 Pacific time for our NFL Pick'em show. But since Justin's going to be gone tomorrow, and he's not going to be able to give his predictions for the Thursday night game, because this is what we're going to do is on Running Through the Jungle Wednesday, we're going to do a Thursday night pick'em for all of us, because we don't we're not going to do a show on Thursdays just for the Thursday night football. So Justin,
right.
it's the Cincinnati Bengals and the Steelers are playing on Thursday night football, and you're not going to be here. What is your prediction for the game tomorrow or for Thursday?
I think the Bengals actually win this game. I think that number one, a lot of things really are settled in the Bengals' favor right now. When you look at the betting line, is at I think they're underdogs at 5.5 points. Favorite. I think that's a sucker bet for most people. Yes, when you look at the personnel for the Steelers and compare it to the Bengals, yeah, that can obviously tell you, oh, bet the Steelers or whatever. But I think that this is a trap game for Pittsburgh, and I say that because, well, they haven't really been punched in the mouth and tested since they went against Seattle. And realistically, when you have a bully going up against another bully, man, it can spell a little bit of doom for them. I still don't trust the Steelers offense, not one bit, even though they look okay against the Browns. But I think that the Browns are in a situation where, man, it's just bad all around, and that's not really a good measuring stick. And plus, they were in Pittsburgh for that game, as we mentioned when we were doing our pick'em show on Friday. Pittsburgh just plays well in their own environment against divisional foes, and quite frankly, they're going to be here in Cincinnati. Now, I know Pittsburgh fans, they travel really well for this game, but with this also being a Thursday night game here in the jungle, that does not always bode well for the road team in that instance. The road team typically loses that game for the most part. Look at the record; it speaks for itself. But I understand why the Steelers are favorite. Obviously, they got the better record, and when they look at the up and down list, the nature of the roster, they got stacked guys on defense. They just got depth everywhere on defense. Their receiving core, so it's okay. It's just DK Metcalf and then a bunch of guys. But I think that the sneaky thing that they got to be able to watch out for is their tight end, because I don't think that they're using Pat Fryermuth to the extent that I would like to have seen them use them. But that guy Darnell Washington, he's a big 6'8" kind of target, and Aaron Rodgers knows how to get his guys out in space. So with that being said, I think that the Bengals do become prepared and ready for this. Everything that felt good about the end of the Green Bay game, of how the second half went for the offense, that was the launch point to get to this game. And I think that they carry that over. They're at home. They're wearing the white jerseys. It's going to be the white-out, white Bengal Tiger night. Give me the Bengals in a close win. So I will say a 3-point win for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah. All right, Justin. Well, thank you so much. This is the end of the show. Justin, do you have any final thoughts?
Let's see if they come out with a dub, man. This is the season on the line for them at this point, man. This is really it. Forget what what's going on with the Baltimore Ravens right now. I know that they're 1-5, but in my opinion, I think that the Baltimore Ravens, if they just get Lamar back after the bye, because they got to bye this upcoming Sunday, if Lamar Jackson comes back for the Ravens along with a slew of other guys coming back from injury, man, the Ravens can be right back in the thick of things in a hurry. Meanwhile, we're still waiting for Joe to come back in the end of November, mid-December. If you're too far deep in the hole, there's no hope. This roster is just not good enough for him to even carry it, even when he comes back. So this is it. This is the tall tale test right here to decide if you are going to make or break it this season. I hate it that it's got to be against the Steelers, because everybody hates the Pittsburgh Steelers in this Bengals Bengals community. But it is what it is, man. You've kind of done well against them in these recent years. So you better go ahead and show up and show out, man. Because other than that, this season's going to be over for you.
Amen. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching the Roaring Reactions with your hosts, Justin Lacey and Tim Lyons. You guys have a great, wonderful day. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe. Go give 5-10 stars, downloads on podcast platforms. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Uday.